And if the economy is slowing, how big of a problem is this going to be, say, January, February, March of next year?
Well, so 1 month of data doesn't suggest a trend line. So we had last month a huge increase in jobs. The month before that, it was a lot less. The month before that, it was higher. Yeah, there were revisions, but still it revised down from 297,000 jobs in 1 month. We have no sign of a recession. We have no sign of a dramatic slowdown. We are not seeing significant increases in layoffs. The most depressing thing about the state of the economy is the way it's being talked about on television and in other places. Pundits want to predict that there's going to be something really negative happening.
Why?
Well, because if you predict the future, they have you back on the show.
Okay,
right?
got it.
So I'm going to. So
predict the future for us, so we can have you back.
Right. I think we're going. Well, I hope you'll have me back either way.
Of course we will.
But what we're seeing is a sustainable, moderate growth in jobs, sustainable, moderate growth in wages. And we are not seeing the kind of disruptions that would suggest that the labor market is in trouble. So layoffs would be an indication of that, right? A dramatic drop in the number of people quitting their jobs, that would be an indication of that. We're not seeing any of those things. What we're seeing is steady, moderate growth. We're very deep into this jobs recovery. We expect the economy, or at least the jobs market, to slow down a little bit. Now it's at a sustainable long-term path. We'll have to see. There can be oil shocks. There can be other things that happen in the economy that will disrupt it. But there's no massive disruptive event out there that is going to cause this economy to get into a jobs recession.
The issue, though, becomes if inflation doesn't actually go down, because poll after poll continues to show that Americans are suffering under inflation. Grocery prices are higher. Some energy prices are still higher. Rents are higher. How difficult is that for this administration to manage and balance that message?
I think we have to hear the American people a little bit more clearly. They're not complaining about inflation. Inflation has come down from 9% to somewhere slightly north of 3%. The American people expect inflation to stay at about where it is right now. They're not worried about price increases. They're worried about the absolute price of gas when they go to the gas station and they fill up their tank. They're seeing a 3 at the start of that number that they're paying, and they're really unhappy about that. They're unhappy about the price of eggs. They're unhappy about the price of other food. But we don't want a big deflation. That would be a sign that things are going terribly in the economy. That would be really catastrophic for the economy. So people are unhappy that they are paying more. That's certainly understandable. But the inflation rate has come way down, and we are pretty close to the Fed target right now if you look at the last quarter. So I don't think it's inflation, it's prices. And that's understandable. They don't like paying massive profits to corporations that have jacked up their prices.
You know what I'm surprised I'm not hearing today from the administration is, hey, you know what? We just ended this UAW strike. They all got better wages and a better life. That was, what, 35,000 people? If they had not been on the picket line doing God's work, this top line would have actually beat expectations. But I know there's a push and pull with the Fed here, and maybe that wouldn't be great for this White House. Are you surprised the president didn't go there today?
Well, I know he wouldn't claim credit for solving the negotiations between the UAW. But yes, you're right that these jobs numbers are reduced by about 33,000 because of the strike by the UAW, another 44,000 because of the strike by SAG-AFTRA. So the numbers are lower than they would be
next month?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to be very careful about predicting the future. I think we're going to see some version of what we're seeing now, somewhere between, say, 125 and 200. I think we can sustain this. We'll see wages around the range where we are right now. It was 7 cents. It may go down a little bit because the labor market is slowing a little bit. But yeah, I don't think the president wants to go out and start taking credit for collective bargaining going well.
Well, he's the first president to walk the picket line, though. He might have some grounds there.
He's the most pro-union president in history, Joe.
I don't know.
Have you heard that before?
I don't know where that came from.
I wonder who gave him that line when he was running. Speaking of this, though, Toyota is hiking pay for its assembly workers following the UAW strike against the Big Three, as Joe was talking about. And President Shawn Fain, the president of the UAW, spoke on the issue. Take a listen.
Toyota isn't giving out raises out of the goodness of their heart. Toyota is the largest and most profitable auto company in the world. They could have just as easily raised wages a month ago or a year ago. They did it now because the company knows we're coming for them. The company knows that Toyota workers are watching. And when the time comes, Toyota workers and all non-union auto workers are going to be ready to stand up.
Last time you were on, you told me it was not a hot labor summer. We have seen labor strike after labor strike. Nurses, now also culinary workers in Las Vegas are preparing for a labor strike. Does what UAW, what they did, and they were successful, does that fuel more labor strikes? And then, to Joe's point, make it much harder for the Fed?
Well, I don't think the Fed is all that worried about strikes. Remember, in the context of the American economy, where we have 160 million workers, 150,000 workers going out on strike. In this case, it was only 35,000 workers going out on strike. That's not really going to move the needle from a macroeconomic perspective. But the answer to your question is, yeah. There's no question that strikes beget other strikes. And the reason for that, particularly when a strike is as immensely successful as the UAW strike, the Teamsters negotiations with UPS, the Writers Guild strike was immensely successful. The reason that begets other strikes is other workers look at that and they say, we can win. If we fight, we can win. And we can get significantly better raises. We can get much better cost of living adjustments.
Better raises, then the company may have to raise prices for consumer. Isn't this become a little bit of an inflation cycle?
No, well, but let's look at it the other way. The car companies raised their prices before the workers got their raises, right? So the idea that it's a wage price spiral has it backwards. The companies raised the prices because they wanted to jack up their profits. And that's how capitalism works. And then workers have to fight to be able to afford those cars by getting more in their pocketbooks, getting more in their paychecks. So, yeah, I think that workers all over the country at Toyota, at Tesla, at Nissan, at other companies are looking at the UAW and saying, you know what, I'd like to have those guys fighting for me and my family.
Talk to us about what's going on in Las Vegas. They've transformed the entire Strip into an F1 racetrack. It's a huge event that's about to tip off there. And the culinary union on the Strip, it looks like it could go on strike essentially on the eve of this event. First of all, are you hearing that's going to happen? And would it have happened without being emboldened by someone like Shawn Fain?
Well, that's a very militant union, the culinary workers, and also you left out the bartenders, who are among the most important people in all of Las Vegas, some of the most powerful, important people in Vegas.
Right?
So they have always been ready to strike, and they have always been ready to raise their wages. So, well, but I'm not ready to say it's going to happen, and I don't want to disclose any conversations I may or may not have had with folks. But I think they are ready to go if they can't get the hotel casinos to change the way they're approaching these negotiations. You know, there are two models out there. There's the Teamsters UPS model, where the company really gets it and they cut a deal that the workers can support. Then there's the Hollywood Studios model, where they just can't stop getting it wrong. They're not listening. They're not paying attention to their workers. They don't understand the state of worker power in our society. And that's why they had what could have been the longest writers' strike in history. They still have an actors' strike underway. They're losing billions and billions of dollars. So the question for the casinos and for lots of other employers in the United States is, which model do I want to follow? Do I want to be like UPS, or do I want my business shut down for months and cost billions?